Planet Water Podcast.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Planet Water, the H2Know podcast with Martin and Chance, and we have a special guest here in episode 4. We have Katja with us, Chance. We have a lady in the room.
Woohoo!
A German lady.
A German lady. And I said it again.
Yeah, you're out German today. No chance.
I have to say, like, we said it in the last podcast because we had Michael Mascher from Austria.
Mm-hmm.
Then in the episode 2, we had Stefan Juhling from Germany. So it feels like we always have a German guest here.
You need to extend your circumference here.
We really need to do something.
That's why I'm here.
Chance, how was your Christmas?
It was amazing, man. I got to relax after a lot of work, and we just hung around the house and listened to Christmas
nice.
carols and ate chocolate. It was
That's
great.
nice.
Yeah.
Eat chocolate.
Yeah.
We like this, huh, Katja?
Yeah.
This is great that you eat a chocolate. What kind of chocolate are you eating?
Super, super dark chocolate. So I'm vegan, so I can't have like milk or anything in it. So it's always like
Awesome.
black, which is amazing. And then you get super buzzed off it too.
But are there drugs in chocolate?
Well, there are stimulants in chocolate. So there's caffeine, and I think
Theobromine.
theobromine, which is that also in tea or no?
No, it's not. It's actually very
Theanine is in
similar.
tea.
Yeah, it's very similar to caffeine in terms of how you react to it. That's kind of why you get the buzz. It's the theobromine in there. Yeah.
No wonder you should always give a woman chocolate, huh?
That's right. Lots of antioxidants.
It
It's
feels
great.
good for everybody, for both sides. That's great. So I received some emails again, Chance, over the Christmas season, and I want to share it obviously with you guys, because we're always happy when you guys are sending us stuff in. And the first one, I did a screenshot from Twitter, and I am Captain, sent me or hashtagged me obviously on it. Hey, yo, Christina P. and Tom Segura, my girlfriend's brother got her a bunch of mineral waters for Christmas and made a carrying case with a Marin Riese quote on it. And then hashtag water champ. And I was amazed. So this came in yesterday. And when you look at the picture,
No.
you see the
way.
case.
So awesome.
Water is not just water. Cheers. And now my name, Marin Riese. And then he put even down a little menu, and then it says sommelier certified.
That is amazing.
And then the
Brilliant.
waters what he had in there were Aqua Carpatica from Romania, then Case Rock water from California, Starkey, what we have here on the table today. Then we have Icelandic Glacial. This will be on our new water menu. Salva La Vita from California. I don't even know that
you
water.
haven't ever tried that before.
Correct. So we should check that water out. And then Waiakea from Hawaii, what we have at Patina too. So I love that. That was really awesome, I think. This
A
is
real connoisseur there.
Yes. So, Captain, when you're listening in, you're seeing us here on YouTube. Thumbs up. That was really cool.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was really fun. Then another one sent me this picture. Pantsman. No other water says water quite like this water. And then Dasani.
Oh boy.
Exceptional taste. Yeah, right. Okay, we're not really big fans of Dasani, and I think he sent me the picture just for that because he knows that I don't like Dasani. So, but I like the pictures that you guys sending me in. And then another one from MV Matt Wipe. Great one. My brother
Yeah,
got me this for me.
serious
Can't wait
water.
to try them all. And look at this.
No way. Look at all
They're
that.
like, I don't know how many waters on the
It's
pictures.
like
Now-
your water closet there.
Yeah, it's almost my water closet. And you see Aquapana, Mountain Valley Springs, Voss, Icelandic, Waiakea, Evian. There's so many waters in that picture. So it's really, really
What is
cool.
this one here? Do you recognize that?
This one, now, I think it's called Eternal, I believe. Something like that. So, Fiji in the background, Pellegrinos right there, Badois right here, over here, Evian. So, great job. Great job over there.
Very nice.
And then Derek sent me an email. Very cool. Recently, I was able to get the TDS of my local tap water and wanted to share with you, all the mummies that listen in. Keep up the great work and keep the jeans very high and tight. We always have our jeans high and tight, obviously. and be thirsty. Cheers. And then he sent me and forwarded me the email, what he received from the city of Spokane, water quality coordinator from
My
water
dad used to live there.
Really?
Yeah, I used to spend summers there.
That is
pretty
funny.
cool.
That is funny. Chance, you wanna read it?
Yeah, in the city of Spokane water system, the TDS in the most recent testing averages 153 milligrams per liter. So that's a TDS of 153. And it can range from 118 to 204 throughout the year.
Very interesting.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty high. That's really high.
And City of Spokane, I have to say thank you so much for replying to this email. I think this is great that you are very open-minded about your water quality. And I think this is great that you replied, obviously, to everybody and that we received it here now from Derek to our Planet Water podcast. And I'm very happy to receive this email. So thank you so much for that. And please, guys, when you're listening in here, please send us an email to planetwaterpodcast@gmail.com. We're always here for you. We would love to see your emails. And we want to obviously showcase them then here on YouTube on the screen. Or when you're listening in, please listen in here at Google+, iTunes, and where we are. SoundCloud as well. And yeah, Podbean. Podbean is our server where we're always uploading all our podcasts. Here we go. Planet Water, episode 4. And I'm so happy that I have Katja with us here today. Katja is a very close friend of mine. Katja, where did we meet? Do you remember?
We actually met at the Ray Stark's bar at Lakma.
Ah, correct.
Yeah, you were serving water.
I was serving water, something completely unusual for me.
I think I passed the test because you asked tap water or bottled. I'm like, is it filtered? And I think that's how I passed the test. I was like, I'm not going to have tap water. So we got talking because of your accent. I'm like, are you German too?
So where are you coming from originally?
Originally, I'm from a little teeny tiny town north of Hamburg, Germany. So very far up north, between the Baltic and northern North Sea. So I think pretty close to where you grew up, which is
what is the town's name?
It's called Bad Oldesloe, which I think outside of Bad Oldesloe nobody knows. It's Bad Oldesloe if you pronounce it English, which is even weirder. But yeah, I lived there, grew up there, grew up with lots of chocolate, obviously. Basically, Nutella was half my diet when I grew up. That was my thing.
It's like, I think every German person has like half eating Nutella for breakfast. Yeah, it's very famous.
Can't get away with that.
Even our national soccer team makes commercials for Nutella in Germany.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
My little sister is obsessed with Nutella.
Yeah?
Which is crazy. I've never seen like Midwestern girls, like, I never even heard of Nutella until I was like 20 years old. And my little sister is like obsessed with it.
That is so funny.
Well, and there's a difference. I think they changed it now, but there's a difference of the European versus the American Nutella.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So the European Nutella is mostly it's chocolate and lots of sugar and all sorts of stuff, but the nut is hazelnut. Whereas here in the U.S. it tastes different because they substitute a lot of the hazelnut for peanut because it's cheaper.
Really?
And so the European Nutella is actually better. So you actually get imported Nutella. It's kind of like Coke, right? The cane sugar
the Mexican Coke.
The Mexican Coke versus the corn syrup.
So we're getting scammed.
So
Again, huh?
So the real stuff.
Ferrero is owning it, huh? Nutella?
Yeah, it's Ferrero. Yeah, that's right.
But I think peanuts are more common here in the States. Anyhow,
they're cheaper here and more common, but it does change the flavor,
for the
obviously.
taste profile.
Yeah.
But I think as well, when I taste here Nutella from a plastic can or like plastic bag, and in Germany they're always glass, it already tasted there differently.
Really?
Yeah, the look and feel is just different.
Yeah, but it's probably the hazelnut too. I
mean, definitely. Yeah, it makes sense.
Sure.
When there are more peanuts in it than hazelnuts, obviously the whole taste profile will change.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Ferrero, what are you doing, huh? To Americans.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I want my Nutella with hazelnuts, not with peanuts.
Same.
You'll just have to wait for my Mutella, which I developed, which is a vegan, Nutella, but with my chocolate in it. And
Chance is getting more and more excited here because Chance is vegan, and Chance is like, "Wow, this is like just the best podcast ever already."
This is the best.
I'm just trying to figure out how to commercialize. I've had a lot of taste testers, and everybody I basically go by memory. So I have a gazillion allergies. We can get into that a little later, which is how I got into chocolate and this kind of pure chocolate that I make. But yeah, so I can't really have regular Nutella anymore because I can't do dairy and I'm not vegan, but I'm just allergic. And there's a lot of other like soy lecithin and all sorts of ingredients in Nutella that are just, if you're allergic, not good and generally not that great for you. So I'm like, I can't give up Nutella forever. So I went by memory and kind of recreated the Nutella that I've had in my head from when I grew up. And so I gave this to a lot of friends for taste testing, and they're like, "This is what you think Nutella like tastes like?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "No, this is so much better." So they're all like, "This is like crack cocaine. This is so addictive and so good." So,
but good that they said it was way much better.
Yeah, no, of course. I was like, "Really, guys? What?" But
yeah,
like,
imagine
no,
like
so
you really
awesome.
think this is Nutella,
Yeah.
right, Katja?
Well, I use a lot. I'm not going to give up the percentages, but I use a lot more hazelnut and basically just like five ingredients in there, so it's very pure. But I haven't commercialized it yet. That's my next step.
Okay. So you came from Bad Oldesloe, a very small town. What is actually in Germany a little famous, huh? Bad Oldesloe.
Is it?
Is there not Bad Schwartau and Bad Oldesloe? Is it not all the same region where the very famous jams are coming from?
Well, Bad Schwartau, that's where all the jam is coming from.
Yeah.
But Bad Oldesloe, it's funny. I had to do a talk on the town when I was an exchange student, and I had to like look at the history, and I didn't know anything about my hometown. And so I'm like, well, Bad, which means bath. So that's a bath town. So it used to be there used to be like salt mines, and so they had like healing baths and so forth. So that's how they got the name Bath. But actually, it's a total scam because they figured that after they had the whole thing set up, I forgot for how many years, it was just sort of a sideline of like the real one, and it just died. So they got the destination of Bath Town, but basically everything was disassembled.
Germany.
But they got to keep the bath.
Bad Oldesloe, what's going on over there?
I'm telling you. But,
Jesus. And I wanted to make you a little promo for the city, and now like you're hearing all this
really
scary...
It's really pretty. It's really quaint. It's nice because it's about 20 minutes by train from Hamburg.
Okay.
So it's
how many people living there? Do you know?
It's about 21,000, I think.
Okay, so
wow.
it is a
Really
smaller.
It's really small, yeah.
When you think this is small, Chance, huh? I'm coming from a town of 250. So
No way.
So for me, it's Bad Oldesloe is for me huge. 21,000 is like way bigger than obviously 250.
Yeah.
So okay, so you Bad Oldesloe, and then you decide in Bad Oldesloe suddenly, oh, let's go to Los Angeles.
No. So I went to study in Bamberg, which is near Nuremberg, which is Bavaria, so southern Germany. Did what's I think it's here called MIS. It's basically a mixture between becoming a computer science major and getting your MBA. So it's kind of a combination of business and computer science because I've always been a nerd. So that worked pretty perfectly. However, I realized pretty quickly that I would have to go into consulting, work at IBM, Oracle. And like, that's just not what I want to do. So I decided,
Katja almost passed out here right now, so we don't want that.
And no offense, I mean, I think it's, it's amazing. Obviously, it just wasn't what my passion was about. So at the time, I've always played video games. I always loved special effects. So I wanted to do something in media and technology, ideally. So I figured, you know what, I'm going to quit this. I'm going to drop out of college. Made my parents not very happy. But I had a plan. I'm like, I'm going to go study media technology. And so they were, not happy, but at least I had a plan. I wasn't just like, I'm dropping out. So to make up that time of not, going to school until I get the new school, I was like, I got to work. So I got, by total coincidence, I got this internship in Munich at a media production company. And so I actually started working on a video game. And which is what I really wanted to do. So I'm like, okay, this is pretty great. So I'm going to do that. And they gave me an internship. And after half a year, they're like, well, you want to work here? And I started really getting into that gaming project. And long story, met the main person that actually developed the game engine for the game and put the game together. We worked really well together. And he decided to start a company selling technology for game developers. So I'm like, okay, I'm in. So I never went back to college. So we founded that company. And a couple of years forward, we had offices in Munich, in Paris, in Tokyo, and in London. And we always knew that our market was going to be in the US because it was video games. And so that's how I got out to LA. And basically went out here with a application engineer and myself, and then hired a local CEO. And I essentially built up sales here for the company, which is that I'd done in Europe beforehand. So that was a lot of fun. So no chocolate yet.
No, so you did this, and then after, at one point you decided, okay, let's continue technology, or?
Yeah, I mean, I love tech, and, hence it was a combination with video games, which I always loved. So it was, other people get really excited about seeing, actors and such, and I was like, oh my god, it's Dave Perry, he developed MDK, and so I was like, just
MDK was a great game for PlayStation, right?
Yeah,
I loved that game when I was little.
Yeah, I met Dave, so
No way.
He was awesome, actually. He was a super humble guy. He was so well known in the industry. He gave us all his tips, and I was just like, this is so cool. So I got to meet all of my heroes that I loved the games of. So I definitely wanted to stay in tech and stay with that company until we sold to another tech company and basically did a bunch of other startups in the tech area, and then ended up at Intel for about 7 years. And then just felt like, okay, I've kind of had my 20-year tech career, and I need a new challenge. And
it's time to move on.
It's time to move on. I still love tech. I'm still a nerd. I mean, you know that. We always like when we meet, like, well, what do you have new?
The whole home is like operated by one cell phone. It's like
I'm a home kid.
She can do everything with her smartphone. Even to turn on the light in a different mood, and when she wants to fireplace on and everything turns into red colors.
It's like Tony Stark.
It's
really
an
Iron Man suit.
It's really fun.
When my garage door opens, all my lights turn on, the fireplace turns. If the temperature is under 70 in the room and it's between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. So it's I get a little lost in that stuff. But anyway.
But it's fun. I think it's great. I love this kind of stuff too. And my wife is always killing me almost to say like, are you nuts? Can I not just turn on my lamp with a regular like switch? Do I really need to put my cell phone up between that? But it's fun. I think it's easier.
Yeah,
I love this.
My parents were visiting, and I was standing literally right in front of the espresso machine. Into my phone, espresso machine off.
No,
and they're like, "Seriously, you're right there." I'm like,
"That's so funny."
You know. And now the watch does it too, so it's even cooler.
Yeah. That is fun.
Anyways,
okay, so you wanted to move on, and white chocolate.
So I actually started with truffles. So again, going back to my allergies, I got diagnosed with celiac disease about 12 years ago, and which is, I don't know if everybody knows celiac disease, but it's a severe gluten intolerance, and it's actually a real autoimmune disorder. There's a difference between celiac disease and just gluten intolerance. So this will actually really ruin like the inside of my body. It's kind of like diabetes, which is an autoimmune, so your body attacks itself.
Sure.
So it's a real thing. And so after discovering that and feeling a lot better, I was really sick for about a year. I discovered that I have all these other allergies that were kind of masked by just being so sick from the celiac. Wow. And so as I slowly recouped, I was like, well, I don't want to give up all the food. I love eating, I love cooking, and I really had to learn how to cook. And so I had done that for the last few years, and chocolate was always a big part of it, because if you buy, I don't know what chocolate you had yesterday for Christmas, but if you go in their store, a regular store, there's typically some sort of soy lecithin in them, or some other lecithin, or other ingredients that, might be contaminated by dairy, might be contaminated with gluten. So I'm like, I'm not going to risk getting sick. So I started kind of experimenting, doing my own stuff, especially like with truffles and baking and all sorts of things. Yeah. So my original idea was actually to do allergen-free, allergen-friendly truffles. So I did like a whole chocolatier class. I'm a certified chocolatier.
Very
and all
cool.
that. Wow. Learned that for a couple of months. And while still at Intel, so I was really busy. But all my friends were super psyched, like, try this.
Hopefully Katja will shop with some new truffles today. Yeah. It's like they're all like getting completely nerdy and exciting.
Yeah, I kind of got out of the truffles a little bit. And then the problem I had with the truffles was I wanted to not use cane sugar. First of all, it's just, I don't think it's that healthy. It's kind of overprocessed. It's a higher glycemic index. So I only wanted to use coconut sugar or some other alternative sugar. But when you try to buy couverture, which is basically there's a difference between chocolate maker and chocolatier. So a chocolatier is somebody that basically takes somebody else's chocolate couverture and makes truffles with it. And then a chocolate maker is somebody that actually buys the beans, sources the beans, and really gets it from, we'll get to this term later as well, bean to bar. And so I was stuck, like, I can't find couverture that uses coconut sugar. So I had to buy 100% and then mix in my sugar. But if you mix it in, you still have that graininess that you don't want. So you really need to melange it, which is essentially you're putting it into the stone grinder, and it grinds down the particle size so that on your tongue it really melts and you don't feel that kind of grittiness. I mean, if you've ever had this sort of traditional Mexican chocolate, these round bars, I don't know if you've ever had them, but they're actually stone ground, and that's sort of their thing. They're kind of gritty and grainy, but that's part of the texture and the taste. But for like regular chocolate and truffles, you want really just smooth, melt in your mouth kind of chocolate. So I'm like, well, what do I do? And it was like, just make chocolate. I'm like, I can't do everything. These are already, because I use these pure ingredients and no additives, no coloring, and all this stuff, they're already going to be like $4 or $5 for a truffle, which is a tall order to begin with, because it's all handmade. So if I now also start making my own chocolate, that's crazy.
Sure,
Remember, I had friends over for dinner, and for like 2 hours, I was arguing against making my own chocolate. But sure enough, fast forward in 2 months, I'm like, screw it. I'm going to buy a small little home melanger. and made my first own chocolate. I bought pre-roasted nibs, so super easy. Just threw the nibs in. Didn't care about like how to roast them or anything like that, and put them in the melanger. First time the melanger really jumped off the kitchen counter. Yeah, because you really have to pre-grind. You can't just throw in the nibs in a tiny melanger because it can't handle it. I mean, it's this tiny machine and you really have to pre-grind, but I didn't quite know. I was just learning.
Sure.
So I threw the nibs in and the thing was just like rattling across. I'm like, like jumping on it. Like, you know, if you've seen like a dish, like a washing machine just
moving around.
So I'm like, button, off. But
yourself
anyways,
like off, the whole
Why is it not working?
It was like the whole thing, like, get this whole home off.
Yeah, so after those first hiccups, I actually managed to make chocolate, and I was hooked. It's just the machinery. Again, I said I'm kind of going back to being a nerd, right? So I loved the machinery. I mean, I was just like, with my partner at the time, was just like every night I was like, what are you looking at? I'm like, oh my God, do you see this melanger and this roaster? And oh, you see all these parts? And I was just geeking out on all the machinery because kind of working in tech, you do all these intangible things for such a long time that to actually make something with your hands and, you know, tinker with the machines.
I understand that. Yeah,
it's so amazing. And you have the creativity of actually, you know, bringing out a product that actually has some of your influences in it. So long story short, I basically was like, screw the truffles. I'm making chocolate. This is just so much more up my alley, and this is really what I want to do. And so I ended up with basically bean to bar. And I always knew I wanted to make it really pure. So all my chocolate is only 2 ingredients. So it's only the bean and coconut sugar. That's it. Nothing else.
So you don't add any water. You don't add any milk or something like that.
No. So water actually is detrimental in the process of making chocolate. So the last thing you want anywhere near your machinery outside of when you clean it is water, because it kills the emulsion basically. So, you know, you have about, depending on the bean, you have about 48 to 52, 4% of cocoa butter naturally occurring in the cocoa bean. And so, you know, you have this nice emulsion, and we all know, like, if you put water into that, it'll break it up. So that's the first thing you learn. Like, if you put a lid on the melanger to keep it warm, you have to be careful in the beginning because there is moisture in the bean. There's typically, depending on how they're fermented and dried and roasted, you will still have a couple of percentage points of water in the bean. And you want to get that out. So in the beginning, when you start melanging, you actually have a little bit of condensation. I mean, not like visible, but every blog you read or every chocolate maker is like, you don't want that like dripping back in, because even like a drop in a couple of kilos of chocolate could kill it and just basically kill the emulsion.
So why are you using then so many chocolate manufacturers like adding milk or cream or something?
Well,
like
they add dry powder, right? If you see that on the labels, it's always milk powder, because you can't actually add the milk.
The liquid.
Because there's too much water in there.
Yeah. And it goes bad really quickly. So if you have, you know, truffles, they're usually, you know, they have a chocolate shell around it. But if there's like a hole in it and then you basically get oxidation with the water, it'll actually go bad a lot quicker. That's why, you know, a chocolate bar, this will have a shelf life of easily 2 years. I mean, it actually won't go bad. It just, we can get into the science of that a little later. It'll just change the texture. It'll get a little harder, but it has a shelf life of like 5-6 years if you put it, you know, in a decent environment. Whereas truffles, I mean, unless they're, you know, completely full of additives, like the truffles I was making at the time, I did all these tests. Some of them only lasted 2 weeks, and you know, others like maybe 4, depending on the ingredients. But it's pretty tough as soon as you introduce water.
So what kind of chocolates did you brought us today?
So I basically changed the origins every year. So this is basically 2017, and I've been evaluating other beans throughout the year. But this is what I have currently, and that's on the website. Or if you go to like Monsieur Marcel here in LA, you can buy it.
And we can look up your homepage right now, and it's marinmunchies.com. And there are obviously very interesting topics already. So there's the home button that you're a little bit story, what you're doing, and then what else can you discover?
So this is actually a nice segue. So origins. So what you see here is the different origins I've had in the store before. And this is not everything I have here today, because I sold out of some of them and might revisit that for next year. But for instance, I brought right there, if you go up a little bit again, Ecuador is one I brought here, which is this one right here. If you click in there, you'll actually be able to see the origin on the map too. If you see on the top left there, if you see the map, if you scroll up a little bit, see there's always the corresponding. Because I didn't know like exactly where everything was before.
Yeah, I think it's great.
So
I love this.
Actually, interesting fact, cocoa trees only grow 20 degrees north and south of the equator. So you couldn't grow cocoa trees, here.
In Germany.
Yeah, or in Germany for that matter, yeah. So yeah, what you see there is, like I said, 5 origins. What I do is what's called single origin bean to bar chocolate. So I, essentially, mostly it's actually one farm, but I say single origin. The bean in that particular chocolate will be from that origin. So in this case, Ecuador. This is also actually from one co-op farm called Camino Verde. But they all have very different, distinct tastes. So if you're familiar with coffee or wine or even water, I would imagine when we're talking about this later, depending on the region, the soil, right, where the water comes through, it'll have a very different taste.
Yes.
So I typically, when I do tastings, I explain that with wine or coffee. Like
Correct. We talked about this in episode 2 and episode 3 as well about terroir by water.
This is exactly it.
And Stefan told us, our sommelier talked about wine has terroir, that you can actually taste where the wine is coming from. Then Michael Mascher, the Fine Water Society gentleman, told us, okay, water has origin and water has terroir because it depends where the water is coming from. And what I love from him on episode 3 is that he even told me the bottle has terroir.
Oh.
And origin, because, for example, he had the history of the bottles.
Everything.
For example, we have Firoj from Slovenia, and they found bottles for 200 or 300 years ago in almost the same shape in that origin. So I love this. So this was a very interesting. This was a very interesting story about it, and Fiji has like this beautiful blue and purple colors. That means like this tropical feeling to it. So every single, or like Vichy, for example, here, it's like very harsh, the bottle shape, because this water is very harsh in taste. So I think they're reflecting themselves sometimes on the taste, on their origin. And I love this. I think this is great.
Yeah.
So
do you buy directly from the farms?
So I currently go through a distributor or importer, whatever you want to call that, that works directly with the farmers. So I've actually met the guy that operates this farm. He was at a chocolate conference. Yeah. So that's kind of part of the bean to bar and the craft movement as well, is to really know where your food is coming from. Because, it's so funny. Like, we go into the store, we go into, I don't know, Whole Foods or something like that, and we care about, is it organic? Where is it grown? Like, all these things. But then you get to the cash register and you pick up a chocolate bar, which I always say candy bar, because most of the time that's what it is. And you just, like, suspension of disbelief. Oh, it just grows on trees like that. And, people forget that there's so much slave labor and child labor. I mean, the only reason you can afford a $2 or $1 chocolate bar or candy bar is because people are not getting paid. And, and plus there's just not a lot of chocolate in there. I mean, the minimum amount I think they keep changing it. It's about 18% of chocolate needs to be in a chocolate bar to be called chocolate. 18%. So that means the rest, 82%,
very low bar,
is essentially, other stuff, which
exactly.
I don't even want to know what that means.
But I love that you're saying this, Katja, and I think this is absolutely right, and this is what drives me always nuts when it comes to water, because people going to Whole Foods, people going to Sprouts, people going to all these like farmer markets, and are very concerned what they are buying and purchasing. What I think it's a great thing. You should know where your stuff is coming from. But then they go into the water aisle and buying purified water.
Yeah.
And they don't even think about it, that purified water might be highly processed food. They would never buy the highly processed food because they're already concerned about the stuff, what they're taking in. So you should maybe take concerned as well what you're taking in by water. That's the whole point why we created Planet Water and why I'm a water sommelier, because I wanted to showcase that water has taste on the first thing, but secondly, obviously, that water has way more power than everybody thinks. Water has terroir, water has an impact on everything, what we're doing. But I love this, Katja, so...
Yeah, and it's like,
that's great.
We both grew up in Germany. It's, you go into a supermarket and you have an aisle of like 40 different waters.
Yeah.
And you've had that since, since I remember, since the 80s. But yeah, so going back to that, so terroir, very, very similar to, for chocolate. So, these, I don't know if you can see them, but there's, the different bars, and they have different coloring on them. There's different coloring on them, and that's, kind of representative of the taste of the chocolate to some extent. So I'm trying to sort of mirror the tasting notes with the bar. And when I do tastings, people are always like, so what's the difference? I'm like, well, they're all 75%. They're all 2 ingredients only. But the difference in taste that you will see is essentially just the bean. And people are typically kind of blown away because they just don't see that in chocolate, because again, most people, I mean, you said really dark. What did you have for Christmas? What kind of percentage? Do you remember what that was?
Oh, it was crazy. I think it was 90%.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And I really like it too, because you can just take little pieces and then just really savor that for a long time.
It's really satisfying. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the other thing, you know, you buy this candy bar, which is essentially a sugar bar, or a chocolate bar they call it, but it's I always say candy bar or sugar bar, and you eat the whole thing, right? You scarf it down, because you're essentially, it's a sugar high and it's a sugar addiction that you're filling up with. Where at these bars, you know, yes, they're more expensive because, you know, there's a lot of work that goes into it. Plus, the farmers are actually getting paid a living wage. It's incredibly hard to grow cocoa trees. I mean, we could talk just a whole session just about that. So you kind of have to sort of appreciate that as, yes, you're paying for value. I mean, nobody has not nobody, but a lot of people don't have a problem with buying, you know, a $40, $50, even $100 bottle of wine. So why is it that people assume that chocolate has to cost like $5 or less, right?
Yeah. Same with water.
Yeah,
same with water.
Exactly. I mean, the parallels are pretty fascinating. And so you need a lot less, right? You have, I mean, the bar is about 2.1 ounces. But I mean, I can go through that in like a week, maybe. I have like one or two pieces a day, and I'm like, this is great. I don't need any more chocolate. So, people always ask me, it's like, how come you're not fat? I'm like, well, I actually do eat a lot of chocolate, but, you know, it's high quality chocolate. And I'm satisfied a lot more. You know, sometimes I'm in my shop, and, you know, I make chocolate all day and I got a taste, and oh my God, sometimes it's like, it's work, and people are like, really? Come on.
Hey, it's the same. Trust me. Yeah. It's not always easy to drink so much water.
Right, exactly.
It's like, it's my job to drink water, but trust me, it's very important as well to know where the restrooms are.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But,
so where's your production facility?
So hence the name Marin Munchies. It's actually located in San Rafael, which is just north of San Francisco, and the county is actually called Marin County, which is how that whole name. And part of the logo is kind of reflecting the mountain ranges there. And then, you know, you have the there, and then the little heart, because everybody loves chocolate. And then plus it kind of ties into sort of Native American language as well a little bit. So it's kind of just like with the colors of the chocolate, I'm trying to always kind of connect the consumer with the chocolate and the history of it a little bit.
Great. I want chocolate now.
All
Katja,
right.
you cannot just talk about chocolate the whole time.
Yeah, of course. No, I know.
I'm like
and
eager.
I really need water.
So eager.
I'm so
yeah, please.
I've been staring at that like that's torture.
I don't want that Katja is feeling dehydrated at the water podcast. Huh?
Which one are we having?
This is right now Starkey. We have Starkey water, 11,000-year-old water,
really
deep
nice.
down. It's pretty cool. I love this water. It's a very good water, and it's funny. There's one gentleman who operates this spring is German too.
Oh, really?
Yeah. High
It's
pH
really
from the Idaho mountains.
So I don't know much about it, but there's
Starkey
not a lot of
hot
TDS
springs.
in there.
No.
Yeah,
The TDS is pretty low. Water, it's not really pretty low. It's 360.
Oh, wow.
So it's not that low. Because when you think about purified water companies, and we saw the picture from Dasani earlier, they're like between 0 and 20, 30,
which is
maybe
crazy,
40
TDS. We had the gentleman who sent us the Spokane TDS, and it was 180 to 204, which is like way more than pure.
Los Angeles tap water in the 300 range.
Oh, really?
Yes, Los Angeles tap water is in the 300 TDS range. So it's like almost the same like what was.
And this has a lot of silica in it, doesn't it?
Yes, it's a high silica content water like Fiji. Fiji has a little bit more. But still, this is a high silica content water. Therefore, it's very smooth in the mouth.
Oh, that was my question. So silica makes it really smooth.
Silica is a mineral what makes water very, very smooth.
Oh, okay.
It's very interesting. Even when the other minerals are very intense, when there's an extremely high content of silica to it, then the water creates the smoothness in your palate. It's pretty cool.
Does it make like this oily texture? Is that what it is? Or
that's like the combination of the different minerals together.
Ah.
So when it's like magnesium, calcium, sodium, in all these ranges, and I said it to some guest. We had some guests for like 3 days ago, right before Christmas, and they asked me as well because I gave them a bottle of Aquilife.
Yeah.
And this water has a very weird texture. I don't want to say even weird, but I think it's a positive texture. It's like
very unique.
It's very oily.
Oh,
it's like almost like you're drinking like high percentage milk.
Oh, wow.
When you close your eyes and you would put this into your mouth, you would think it's milk, but then you're realizing, no, it's missing the flavor of milk.
Oh.
So it's very unique.
That's a good thing.
Taste. And people ask me like, how is it even possible? Because they are always the same minerals in it, like magnesium, calcium, sodium, all these kind of different minerals. But they're always tasting differently, all these waters.
Yeah.
And then I'm told them it's kind of like you have, you're giving 3 different artist people 3 different colors, or like the same colors actually, but all the artists will paint you completely different pictures with the same color schemes.
Well, it's the same with the chocolate too. Like you know, there's a limited amount of fine flavor bean farms in the world. So if you buy, you know, craft bean to bar chocolate, high end, there's, I mean, for instance, the Tanzania bar that I have is from a farm called Coco Camili, where I've actually also met the owner, actually ex-Stanford guy. So he basically went. Wow. He's from, I forget where he's from. I think, I don't want to mess it up. Yeah, I think India, Pakistan, somewhere that area. But he went to Stanford, and then he's now actually in Tanzania running the farm with a friend of his, and basically really wanting to bring back like high quality cocoa and work for people in Tanzania. So it's actually fantastic. And they produce amazing beans. But there's other chocolate makers that also have Coco Camili. If you look at that in the store, you'll see like Tanzania Coco Camili. But the chocolates taste vastly different because it's, you know, different kind of roasting technique, different kind of melanging and conching. So
makes sense.
And, you know, completely the same ingredient. Of course, I use coconut sugar. It's a little different. But even like if you compare, I've had other coconut sugar-based chocolates with that bean and even the cane sugar ones. It's fascinating how different the taste will be.
So where's the big difference between coconut sugar, then sugar, what we can buy at Ralph's, and cane sugar?
So you can buy coconut sugar actually nowadays. I mean, in like health food stores, it's pretty readily available. The main difference is it's a lot less processed. So it looks a lot more like brown sugar, which actually is processed sugar with molasses added back into it. So people always think like, oh, it's, you know, you get some minerals from the molasses, but it's actually not just like that. And the coconut sugar typically is a lot less processed. It's actually from the blossom of the coconut tree. And it has a lot more minerals left in it, and it has a slightly lower glycemic index than cane sugar. It's still sugar, so I always say, you know, it's paleo-friendly, but at the end of the day, you're still, you know, you have to be honest, you're still eating sugar. But, you know, I'm doing a mostly paleo lifestyle, so it, you know, it kind of works in with that. But on the flip side, too, if you don't care about that at all, I think it really helps bring out the flavor of the bean because it has a little bit of that caramel flavor in it. It's not molasses, but it's kind of a little bit like that. So you get a little bit of a more pleasant flavor together because caramel and chocolate go really well together. So I just like the taste profile better. And I don't eat cane sugar, so whenever I try bars with cane sugar, again, I get overtaken a little bit by the cane sugar taste because I'm so sensitive to it. So I think, you know, it's complementary and doesn't take away from the chocolate. And I mean, the general rule is you want to add a little bit of sugar. That's why, you know, they had the 90% bar. A little bit of sugar helps to really bring out the flavors. I mean, you do that with other things where you just add salt, right, to bring out the flavor. And so that's very similar. And I stick with the 75% because it's you know, it's not overwhelming, but it's a nice, pleasant taste for people that don't want like a 90% bar. Yeah. And even 100% bars, if it's fine flavor cocoa, it doesn't have to be bitter. I don't know how bitter the 90 was that you had, what kind of brand that was.
It's pretty bitter.
Yeah, if it's the fascinating thing, and you'll see, you know, of course it's a 75, but you see that with these, if people always assume chocolate has to be bitter, like dark chocolate has to be bitter. If it's a well-made chocolate, and first of all, a really good bean, it doesn't have to be bitter at all. Yeah. There's all these other flavors, but bitter is always a little bit in there, just like acidity, but it doesn't have to be like, oh, bitter.
Okay.
And I read on your site that coconut sugar might be more environmentally friendly than cane sugar?
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously, you know, with burning down the forest to do cane sugar farms and all that, so there's a little bit of that. So, I mean, I wouldn't, again, there's so many different things that are important for different people, but I think, you know, cane sugar farms need to usually burn down rainforests and those kind of things to make that happen, so, yeah.
Not really, though. Most interesting.
And flavor. I mean, I buy sustainable coconut sugar. There's also a vast difference of taste in cane and coconut sugar. So same with cane sugar. So I went through, I think, 7 different coconut sugar suppliers to find the one that I felt like worked best with the chocolate that wasn't overwhelming, because you also don't want this to taste like Bounty, right? You know,
sure.
Every bar like, it's coconut. And I'm curious to hear actually when you taste it, if you actually taste the coconut. Most people don't, but I've had it like, coconut, like a hint of it.
Like a hint of it.
Yeah.
So by the chocolate tasting, because by water tastings, when we're doing water tasting, Chance and I, we're going from low minerality waters to high minerality waters, and then we're introducing afterwards sparkling waters, and then the same concept again from low till high. By a wine tasting, you would start with a light Riesling, for example, like a very, very acidic notes. Then you go into Chardonnays at one point on the white wine spectrum. And by red wines, you would start with Pinot Noirs and then going to heavy Merlots, Cabs, this kind of stuff. So by chocolate tastings, there's for sure some regulations as well, but you should think like, okay, you should start with this kind of chocolate, then build yourself up to this and this and this flavor, or it doesn't matter, Katja?
Well, I think it matters, but I don't think there's an agreement of how to do it as much as there is in the wine area.
Okay.
So I've seen different, like, somebody would start with an Ecuador and end with a Madagascar. Other people, do the other way around. So Ecuador is very chocolatey, very dark, deep chocolate flavor. The Madagascar has a lot of sort of raspberry and more citrus
So a little bit on
notes.
the lighter.
So a little bit on the lighter side. And I do mix it up even in tastings. I mean, I kind of gauge the crowd a little bit to see, if this is somebody that has a sort of evolved palate or that tastes a lot of different things or has had a lot of craft chocolate. I would probably go from the lighter to the darker. If it's like a crowd where I don't know anything, I usually start with a crowd pleaser, sneak in the little bit more challenging one, and then end again with a crowd pleaser. Because, you want people to not start like that because it's so not
What's
what they
wrong with your
expect.
chocolates, Katja?
Right, because, there's an expectation of what chocolate tastes like because of a lot of, the sort of the candy bars people have tasted. So you don't want to just
And all that diversity is from the different beans.
Yes, it is.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's so
It's
cool.
kind
Just
same.
like water, yeah.
That's the reason we wanted to have you so badly on the show, because we thought there are so many similarities to water.
Yeah.
Because we're talking about single origin, we're talking about that the water should be taken care of, that Mother Nature has an impact obviously on the waters, and I see all this same vision right now with the chocolates. So it's very, very interesting. So okay, what are we starting with?
Well, so you want to tell me about your water, and then I can see if I can maybe even match it based on what you described.
I want to do the other way around.
Okay, all right.
So I thought we're tasting chocolates, and then we will see we're tasting 2 or 3 waters right next to the chocolate
Okay,
to
we
see
can do that
which
too.
chocolate has an impact on the water and vice versa.
All right.
I think this would be interesting
That
to
sounds
see.
good. So let me see.
So you're doing your spill, what you're always doing, and we will supplement then some waters in there to see
so
if we can actually pair water with chocolate, because we never did this before.
So I think I'm going to try starting with the lighter and going into the darker.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the should I do Madagascar or Dominican? I think Madagascar. All right. So I was telling you this earlier, I cut myself pretty badly over the holidays.
We don't want that.
Should not be left alone with a mandolin, apparently. So normally I would open this with my thumb, but my thumb...
Should I try it?
Yeah, maybe you try it. My thumb is not doing too well, so...
Let's see. I love the packaging. The packaging is really beautiful, and this looks very,
It's
very...
really elegant.
Yeah, I love this.
Perfect.
There we go. Everybody can hear it. It's not that easy to open the chocolates.
Oh, you want
Is
to
there a
get,
golden
work for
ticket?
it.
But here we go. Here we go.
Okay, great. All right.
So we will taste now 75% Madagascan Sambiriano Valley.
Yes, and that's actually a pretty famous valley for Madagascar beans. Madagascar beans in general are regarded as really high quality and very unique. So they, well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to tell you. So you will actually get like a nice citrus chocolatey start. I'm going to put this on here. That's a big piece. There's one for you.
Thank you.
And then you'll actually get a nice
Thank
sort
you.
of raspberry finish, which is kind of cool. And it works well with chocolate, obviously, to have raspberry. But again, this is just the bean. There's nothing added. I'm going to put that back in there.
Mm-hmm.
And you're already eating it, Martin.
Sorry. Oh my god. What did I do? Can I have a second piece?
How would you feel if people just go like, oh, this is good?
Oh my god. Sure.
That's actually a really good example of how not to do it. I'm sorry. We're friends. We're not going to be friends after this, are
I
we?
did it again. Now you know how my wife feels sometimes.
All right, so
Okay,
so the way to taste
the correct way.
is you
I
want
think it's great.
yeah.
I love already the chocolate. The
Yeah.
first piece was amazing. And
So-
now let's really taste the chocolate.
Yeah, so it's basically it's kind of similar to wine a little bit. You want to smell it. If you really want to smell it, I mean, it's actually pretty warm in here. So it you can rub it a little bit so you get some
Oh, wow.
some sort of the the flavor out, and then you can actually smell it already a little bit because it warms on your finger. And then you want to get like two things when you taste it. You have a good sized peach, so you want to kind of get the snap, which is basically from the tempering. You hear that, right?
Wow.
So if the chocolate has not been stored well or not tempered well, you won't get that snap. It's kind of like if you've ever had chocolate laying out in the sun, and then afterwards, even if it's cold again, it'll have that sort of gritty texture.
Yeah.
It means it's out of temper.
Very interesting.
And so the snap, and then you really want to kind of let it. I always close my eyes because I can concentrate better if I want to really taste. Kind of let it roll around on your tongue, so you get the different taste areas of your tongue to really get the whole thing. And then you can even do it with wine. You know, people, you see them like, like weird sucking in air.
Putting the air in, yeah?
Yeah, you can do that as well. And then just enjoy it. I mean, it's just, obviously, it's chocolate.
It is very yummy, I have to say. It's very yummy. I really thought I thought it would be way bitterer, and it's not.
Right? It's not
I think
bitter.
it's almost
not really
like a
bitter at all.
little creamy mouth feeling
It's really
to it.
creamy and light, and it has like a little acidic note in there too.
And then the slightly fruit complexity comes through. I
It
think.
does. I can definitely get that raspberry taste.
Yeah,
off
right
of
at
it.
the end,
I love this.
you get the raspberry. Yeah,
On
and
the tip of
acidity-
your tongue.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
amazing.
you're right.
Yeah.
That's on the tip of the tongue mostly, yeah. Yeah, and it's...
When I taste Starkey to it,
Wow.
it's very interesting. Starkey comes now suddenly very harsh on your palate. Because we talked earlier about Starkey. It was interesting to see how Starkey was very smooth. But when you're tasting Starkey right now, it's very, very harsh.
It feels like a low mineral water.
Yes.
Like that really
Yeah, it's very
light.
different.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Let's add a little bit more silica. I will get Fiji open right now because Fiji is one of the waters with the highest silica content on this planet. So I think it would be interesting.
Yeah, it's a lot less...
Drink up, huh?
It's a lot less...
Cheers.
God.
Yeah, we
Cheers.
have Planet Water here. Huh? You need to drink water. We're not spitting out waters
thirsty,
here.
so I can just pound this down.
Here we go. Let's see. I will do it again.
So now I need a little...
I love the snap idea.
Yeah, so
I
that,
love
you know, if you don't get that with the chocolate, it's either, you know, it was not well tempered to begin with, which with craft chocolate, I doubt. I mean, people really know what they're doing. So it's typically that it just hasn't been stored well, and that's, you know, on the shop or the transportation or something, so it's kind of a shame. And you can't get that back unless you know, remelt it and actually temper it, which nobody will do at home. It's kind of a hassle.
Fiji is a better water for it, for this chocolate. It feels balanced. The Starkey came off very harsh, and Fiji still has the complexity of this smooth mouthfeel. And the interesting part is, I think I just drank Fiji, and I still can taste the chocolate.
You know what's funny
Afterwards.
too? The chocolate
love this.
after the Starkey water also tastes different than it did on the empty palate. Like I hadn't...
We had this with the wine too. That sometimes the water, even after you drink the water, then you started with the same wine again, the wine tastes completely different.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating.
It's very interesting.
What's really interesting with this, that
Actually kills the chocolate a bit.
acidic note I was talking about on the tip of your tongue, like it enhances it a little bit. Like as soon as you drink it, it's like enhanced, like the sensation of acidity is enhanced just for like a moment, but then it just like goes back to the original taste.
I like that.
Oh, that's much better
Much better.
with the...
Yeah, Fiji is a much better pairing for this chocolate right now.
This could be really interested for like conferences and tasting events and such.
Fun,
because,
huh?
you know, everybody's like, here's some water, but nobody ever thinks about
same
like,
chocolate,
what kind
and we
of water.
tasted now the same chocolate with
Yeah.
two different waters, and the two different waters are not even so crazy out of the world in TDS, because Starkey has 360 versus Fiji of 222. So it's very interesting, but Fiji has a little bit more silica than Starkey has. But the overall mineral content of Starkey is higher than in Fiji. So I think that's my opinion right now, because Fiji is so smooth on your palate that the creaminess even was involved in the chocolate, and more complexity of the chocolate came out because the mineral composition was a little lower, but plus the high silica content, it was very, very nice.
Yeah,
I
that's
like that.
really, that's really fascinating.
I really
actually.
like
That's
that.
really cool.
Cool.
Huh, all right. So let's try a different one.
Yes.
Okay.
Shall I open
you
it
get
again?
the honors again?
Okay.
So this is the, I'm going to show the package here since I have another one. So this is Dominican Republic, El Chibao. And also definitely on the lighter side. not quite as acidic, light, fruity as the Madagascar, but very similar. Dominican Republic has been growing, commercial, good quality chocolate for quite a while. So this one, I always get, hence the packaging too, there's a little bit of an orange taste to it, which I've just made like truffles and mints with just sort of orange in it, which is really a nice combination. So I'm going to just try to grab that out of here. You want me to take that away for now, or you want to put it to the side so we don't...
What are the napkins for?
Yeah, well, I figured, I don't know if it gets too warm for your hands. Otherwise, just put the chocolate there. I just don't want to mix them up. You want me to give me your little thingy there? The little... Yeah,
yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
And that.
You can put it back in here.
Side. I have another sip of Fiji. I'll get that. For palate also, I always tell people when tasting chocolate is, there's no right and wrong. You can taste something completely different than the tasting notes. There's no right or wrong. Everybody tastes differently. Some people like bitter, others don't. Some people like sweet, some people like savory. So everybody has a very different palate. And even on a day-to-day basis, like your palate in the morning is very different before you have eaten or drinking anything. And then, I have days where I'm just craving the Tanzania, and then other days I'm like, I feel like Madagascar today. So it's just...
It has a smoky feeling to it. I think it's slightly smoky.
Oh, interesting.
It does.
Tobacco, yeah.
Totally cool.
Oh, wow.
I really like that.
It's definitely more heavier and intense than the last one for sure. But again, it's not bitter.
It's not bitter, right?
at all.
Yeah. And it's a 75%, so it's it's a fairly dark.
We're gonna do it.
The tobacco definitely comes out more. And I get towards the end, I always get a little bit of caramel.
Okay, so Katja, I didn't want to open it because this is a very, very special water, but I have to say for this Dominican Republic, we're gonna do this here now. Because I'm just opening Svalbard, guys. Svalbard is an incredible water from Norway, from the Svalbard region. It's ice glacier water. They're harvesting icebergs before they are diluting into the North Sea, and then you cannot drink them obviously anymore. This is the packaging here, Svalbard. It's beautifully done.
It's like
it's
a
really
Scotch
beautifully
packaging.
done. Yeah.
Like a... Oh, it's
This
gorgeous.
bottle runs $150 in my restaurant.
You're kidding. Oh my
Patina.
God.
The taste of snow and air. So...
That's crazy.
And we had a bottle, Chance and I, for a tasting what was a slightly smoky
And
taste to
it had a smoky taste.
It has a smoky taste to it. So I think it would be very interesting to see this now with the Dominican Republic chocolate. If this water can hold up the taste profile like the chocolate.
And it's so funny, the Fiji now tastes completely different than after the Madagascar, right?
So everybody can hear, we are pouring Svalbard into the glasses. When you're watching us on YouTube, you can see this beautiful bottle. I highly recommend everybody who is just listen to us on the different devices. Please check out our YouTube video.
Thank you.
On my YouTube account, Marin Riese, and then just Google Planet Water Podcast or Planet Water the H2Know podcast, and it will show up right away on your YouTube feed. And you should check that out because you should see the chocolates and you should see the different water bottles as well. And this is now Svalbard from Norway.
It's a beautiful bottle.
Yeah, they did a great job. They really did a great job.
And
so let's
a
see.
little icicle on top. It's interesting too. I mean, I do age my chocolate before I make it. So it basically gets hand sorted, roasted, melaged, conched, tempered. But between the last step, after the melaging and conching, I actually store the chocolate for a minimum of 30 days before it gets tempered to really kind of melt the flavors together. And the reason I say that now, this has been tempered but the taste actually still evolves a little bit. So the smokiness, the sort of tobacco, that wasn't in there that much.
Very interesting.
When these were fresh. It's actually really nice. And that's the thing where I'm saying, like, if you see chocolate in the store, we know it's been stored well, even if it's past the expiration. I mean, mine actually say enjoy by because, it doesn't really go bad. I have chocolates that are 3 years old when I started because I put them in my vault to kind of like see how I evolved. They're still great.
I like the Svalbard with the Dominican Republic water. I like this. I just tasted Fiji again, and I think the Svalbard is a better one for it.
Yeah, the Fiji didn't feel it with the...
Yeah. That's good. The TDS is extremely low, obviously, from an iceberg water. It's a TDS of 21. So very, very low. There are barely any minerals in it, because it makes sense. It's rainwater at one point, or this water is coming from the same source. It's rainwater, drips down in the different layers around the world and takes the minerality with them. By Svalbard, it ices up right away. So the TDS level is very, very, very low from this iceberg water. And I think it's a beautiful pairing. Svalbard and... So Norway and Dominican Republic have something together. You're producing both beautiful products. One is water, the other one is amazing chocolate beans.
You're totally right. It actually, there's very little harshness in the chocolate to begin with, but with this water, it's just super clean.
Yeah.
It's just, you just taste the chocolate.
Yeah. And that is so important because on a tasting, and this is what we talked with Stefan about it in wine tastings, we want to showcase the wine in the best possible way. And the same right now with chocolates. We want to not alter the chocolates in a different way. No, we want to showcase the chocolate in the best possible way. And I think with the right water, they will even grow in your palate. And we see it right now. I think it was fascinating that Fiji was with the first chocolate very, very good. Now Svalbard, I think, is with the second chocolate very nicely done. I love this. Great.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yummy.
All right. Ready for number 3?
Sure.
May I?
Costa Rica.
So this is Costa Rica.
Did all chocolate originate from South America, and then they just started?
No, actually, South America is actually where it started. Yeah, so the Mayans, the Aztec, they actually use it as a currency.
Oh wow, no way.
Cocoa beans were just really valuable, so they had it as money essentially. So rich people would have tons and tons of beans storing them. So it was always very luxurious food. Europeans actually added the milk. That wasn't like, if you go traditional recipes, there are actually spices in there like allspice and chili is a very common one. But the milk that was added by the Europeans, and the sugar to some extent too, because they're like, this is too bitter, like we can't deal with that. So,
but why you think the milk? To make it creamier, what was the idea behind the Europeans?
It was it was both. It was creamier, but also it was a way to make it cheaper because you would essentially add sugar and milk, and people liked it, but at the same time you could milk chocolate. Most milk chocolates have like 20-30% cocoa, and the rest is sugar and milk.
Yeah, milk is way cheaper.
So it's way cheaper, and they had a lot of it in Europe. So it's just not much of a problem. All right, so this is actually, whenever I do tastings with this one, I always ask people, like, do you drink alcohol? Most people are like, yeah. And so I always, I used to love Scotch. I can't anymore because very little known fact, but actually Scotch most of the time has gluten in it because they use caramel color to actually color the Scotch to make it uniform looking, because the caskets will I always do that mistake, bad mistake. The casks, not cool. The casks, they will change the color of the Scotch, but they're not all the same. So consumers want them to look all the same on the shelf, so they add caramel color, which then introduces, thank you very much, gluten. So I learned that the hard way, because distilled liquor typically, even if it's made from wheat or barley, is fine, but I kept getting sick, and so caramel color.
Look at that.
But this, I think, would, if I remember it correctly, goes really well with whiskey, Scotch. But then I've discovered mezcal, and this one actually I think is a perfect blend to like a mezcal with this kind of chocolate, because it has a lot of plum, molasses, raisin. It's a very sort of, I hate to say it because I'm a total feminist, but it's like a very manly chocolate. But yeah, try it. I mean, just give it a shot.
Especially, I thought it was interesting. In the beginning, it's like, oh yeah, there's a chocolate, and then suddenly it pops open. And all the aromas are flying into your palate.
To me, it has like a spicy taste to it.
Yeah, that's why I like it with the mezcal, because there's just a lot going on. And there's some spiciness. There's the sort of plum, dried raisin. It's just sort of
And the raisiny taste is really strong to me.
Oh, Svalbard doesn't work.
No?
I just said Svalbard.
Oh, interesting. I kept some of that too.
That doesn't work. And we need a water now because Svalbard feels now like lost in the powerful aromas of the chocolate. We need something a little bit higher in minerals now.
I'm going to go for a sparkling.
Yeah, why not? Let's open some Vichy Catalan from northern part of Barcelona. And people who...
That's quite salty, right?
Yeah. And people who don't have access to Vichy Catalan, there's another brand in Germany. It's called Gerolsteiner. It's a very famous brand. And you can buy it here at Trader Joe's for $1.50, I believe. Huh? $1.49, $1.50 for a bottle of Gerolsteiner. So please, guys, when you don't have the waters, obviously what we're drinking here, go to your grocery store and for sure they will have something similar to it. So my opinion always is when you don't have Vichy Catalan accessible, try Gerolsteiner.
Gerolsteiner's great.
Where's Apollinaris on the scale there? Because that's pretty salty.
Yeah, Apollinaris is between Gerolsteiner and Vichy.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, 2,800 TDS is Apollinaris.
Yeah,
The Gerolsteiner is 2,500 TDS.
Oh, wow.
And Vichy right now, what we have in our glasses is 3,050.
Wow.
Oh yeah, that's the Red Bull of waters.
All right, let's try
So
that.
let's see.
That's yummy, though. Yeah, salt makes everything better.
That is cool. I love this now because it the carbonation level and it holds up.
Yeah.
It holds up to the chocolate. You still can taste the chocolate, and the chocolate feels, because the chocolate is very rich in your palate, it feels a little bit more refreshing. The chocolate.
Totally does.
I like this. I really like this.
I wonder if this might be a little crazy, but I wonder if the oxygen bubbles that sort of in your mouth will actually sort of still hold
it up.
to pull the chocolate out. I don't know, because you know that's why you do the sucking. You get some oxygen in.
This is really cool.
Oh, that's great.
I like that. But we all know salt and chocolate can be very interesting combination, and we have here in Vichy Catalan over 1,000 milligrams of sodium, guys. So it's a very salty water.
I did some experimenting with salt and chocolate, and my poor friends, they were like, "You should try salt and chocolate." I'm like, "Okay." So I gave them a bar, and they're like, "Not enough." And so I did like 2-3 more, and then the third one, I'm like, "Okay, whatever. They want more." So I put like, and it didn't taste all that salty. But the next morning, she called me, and she's like, "Oh my God, we woke up in the middle of the night just parched, and then we were drinking the whole time, and then we had to go to the bathroom the whole time." So they had like...
Speaking of bathrooms.
Hello, Chance. At least he knows where the bathrooms are. They're very important. They're very important. So this will be fine.
We planned that, right?
Again, guys, it is important, and this is I don't want to say a live show, but we are taping once, and then we don't cut it really in the back. So this can happen, and we're not cutting anything out. So right now, it's Katja and me, because Chance has to go for a little break. Okay, Katja, that was really cool so far. What else do you brought for us?
So I also have...
God, that was yummy, huh? That was really yummy. Nice, it was it's fascinating, guys. And again, when you're listening in or when you're watching us, please try it at home. It's so important. And you can send an email to Katja, obviously, and she's more than happy to send you some chocolates. So what's your yeah, sure. Guys, let's face it, huh? We all need to make money here, so Katja will not do it for free. But she's more than happy to sell you, obviously, the beautiful chocolates, because there's a lot of passion and a lot of things in it.
If you reference the podcast, I'll throw in some nice discount as
well.
Oh, yeah.
Do you hear this? So there's a little discount when you reference Planet Water, Water Sommelier, Marin Riese, Katja, or I'm Thirsty. So then there will be a little discount for you for the amazing chocolate bars. And you should really try it at home. Buy several spring waters and then taste all these different chocolates, and you will be amazed how different the chocolates will taste with the waters. So we're going to Tanzania right now.
Yes, that's Tanzania.
And where can they order this? Again, on the homepage, obviously,
Yeah,
marinmunchies.com.
there's the website, and I'm basically mostly selling through website and at events at this point.
Okay.
We're still a pretty young company, but there's a store here in LA called Monsieur Marcel. Martin, can I give this to you? Real quick?
Yes, sure.
Where you can buy it directly in the store, and
nice.
hopefully soon enough in many, many more stores. Or if you're wanting to stay, we're visiting LA, and actually let me give you the buzzer piece. And you want to stay at a fantastic hotel, there's a Petit Hermitage in Beverly Hills, and they actually have it in the room.
Oh,
so you
even
can have
better.
a
Very
really nice night. It's a fantastic place, and at the same time,
you can
have
enjoy
Marin
some
Munchies chocolate.
incredible chocolates.
Pretty awesome.
And then is there an email address as well where they contact you?
Yeah, basically send it to contact at Marin Munchies or Katja at Marin Munchies. It'll get to me. Anything
Cool.
that you send to marinmunchies.com at marinmunchies.com will actually reach me.
And again, guys, when you didn't listen into it through the email address now, I will blend it in later on YouTube. And you can always send us here at planetwaterpodcast@gmail.com an email too. And we are more than happy to further that to Katja when it's about Marin Munchies.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right, so we got Tanzania, and this is fantastic beans. This is actually always been my favorite, one of my favorites. Fantastic farms. They do a lot of work with the people in that region to really help them out, give them jobs. As you can see, a lot of women working there as well.
Great.
So it's pretty great work they're doing, especially Africa. Obviously. That region, not super wealthy, so they're doing a lot to really help people be more sustainable in their country.
And that's important, guys. I think
Yeah.
this is like what we always should do when we buying grocery stores, when we're buying something. I think it's very important that we're supporting people in countries where they can make a living from it as well. And we all know here in Los Angeles, they just raised our minimum wage to $12. Trust me, a lot of people would love to have $12 per hour. That looks in some countries completely different. And I think it's important to maybe spend $1 or $2 more on the product, but then at least the right money will be get to the right people.
Yeah, I mean, most cocoa farmers in like Ivory Coast or Ghana, those areas of Western Africa, there's still a lot of slave labor. There's a lot of child labor still happening. I mean, a lot of the larger chocolate companies are trying to eradicate that, but quite frankly, probably not hard enough. And most of these people live on less than $1 a day. So
Crazy.
They're all living in poverty. And, and if you want to be selfish for a minute, that also means that a lot of the younger generation, if they don't have to, they will not go into cocoa farming because they're like, why are we doing this? Like, we're working our backs off, and it's really tough work. It's really tough labor. And, we don't see a future in doing this, in doing this farming, this cocoa farming. So what you see there actually on the picture is little cocoa trees. Seedlings.
Oh, beautiful.
Takes about 6 years to go from seedling to actually bearing fruit. So kind of going back to it takes a lot of work and a lot of investment to actually make that happen.
Wow.
Anyways, Tanzania. So a little bit of acidity, little bit of citrus. I chose to actually roast this a little bit more. So you get a really nice dark chocolate flavor with, some citrus, some acidity, but very mild. So it's very pleasing to the palate.
That's right. I thought in the beginning it would be stronger than the first one, but it's actually, the beginning is very strong and then it mellows up very nicely.
Yeah, and I don't know if you get that, but it tastes a little darker because it's roasted a little bit longer than some of the other ones I have.
This will be interesting now. I have a feeling that Vichy is too strong for it. It will eliminate the beauty of the chocolate now.
Yeah. It's nice with the salt though too. I kind of, it's a tough one.
Let's see, I'm offering Hilden right now. Let's see what Hilden can do with this chocolate. So Hilden, TDS of 312, but it has sparkly bubbles. It's the officially water of the Buckingham Palace. So Queen Elizabeth is drinking this.
And Hilden's really citrusy as well.
Yes.
Oh, yeah?
So I thought that might be
cool.
interesting to see if Hilden is a better fit now. Look again, huh? I try to keep it simple with like 1 or 2 bottles, and now we have already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bottles here. Yeah, that's the beauty of diversity in chocolate and water. It is much better than Vichy. Mm-hmm. You have the chocolate flavors coming back out now.
You're right.
Totally different. Mm-hmm. The Vichy was too strong for the Tanzanian
Yeah,
one.
the Vichy kind of makes it taste sort of ordinary. You kind of lose that flavor journey.
Correct.
I mean, it's still pleasant and nice because the salt kind of, brings out flavor, but not like the flavor profile.
Yeah. No, I like Hilden for this. This is great. Mm-hmm. This is great.
This is so crazy. I love this. This is awesome.
To me, it really brings out the minerality of the Hilden. Like, it has that similar magnesium flavor that you sort of get from a Roy, that you can really taste in the Roy. But without the chocolate, like, I've never tasted that minerality before, that magnesium in the Hilden.
That's really cool.
So interesting. You think it will even... The chocolate enhances now the water, not the other way around. Very cool. I like this.
Nice job. This goes really well with that. That's awesome.
I think so too. Hilden is a great water for it. I even need to look it up later, I think, our podcast to see it, to remember myself again. Okay, Tanzania was England now, huh? So this is the combination right there.
Yeah, and we had, what did we have? Dominican Republic and Norway or something?
Yeah.
I kind of remember that.
Very fun. Okay, we're going to Ecuador.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this is Ecuador. This is actually the first one we looked at when we looked at the website. So Ecuador, very well known to have really, really good chocolate. And I always call this like the chocolate lover's chocolate because it's really just intense chocolate flavor. And for that matter, going back, kind of going full circle with my story of how I got here, I call this my Nutella chocolate because it has some sort of nutty aftertaste.
Okay.
Some people get almond. It depends on the day for me too, but most of the time I actually got a little bit of a hazelnut aftertaste, which is kind of cool. Because, chocolate and hazelnut go really well together. Okay. So we got one for you. Oh, look at you. That's pretty awesome. All right, Martin, ready for the next one?
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So yeah, this
Ecuador.
is just full-on chocolate explosion in your mouth. It feels like it's just super. That's why when I do tastings where I don't know the crowd that well, I typically start with like a Tanzania or Ecuador. Even though it's really strong, I kind of want to rope people in. So typically I do the Tanzania unless I really can't read the crowd, because when I do events too, it's like, it's funny, like depending on the crowd, it's very different of what people buy most of. So it you can never tell. It's like, I think this will do well or this will do well. It's pretty interesting how the
Do you think this is the most powerful chocolate you have in your portfolio?
Powerful in terms of just
flavor profile, like the most intense, the most richness?
Think it kind of, I mean, we had the Costa Rica, right, where you both said like, oh my God, there's like so much going on. And I think the Ecuador is similar in that, but it doesn't have as many flavor nuances in there. But
it has absolutely this Nutella feeling.
Right?
It's
got that hazelnut thing going on.
Totally.
Like immediately. Oh, wow. It tastes like a milk chocolate.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that many times too. Yeah, people always say there's nothing in there.
Wow,
I'm like,
that's
no.
incredible. And the different layers of flavors, just like it changes. Like from the instant it goes in your mouth till.
And we need something still again.
And again, not bitter, right?
No, not bitter at all.
Of course, it doesn't have this super heaviness, bitterness. It's more like this milkiness and hazelnutty.
Yeah,
and
it
it's
just
like
evolves in your mouth. Yeah.
Correct. So I think we need to go back to still. I wouldn't go sparkling.
Yeah, and this has very low acidity. I think of all the chocolates, this has the lowest mellow. I've actually made an 85% of this for a friend of mine who just loves super dark chocolate. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some private label like just for you. And she bought like the whole batch. And the 85 actually was really nice. So I might do that going forward. Because it was super mellow for it. I mean, the 85 and the 75 wasn't actually all that different and all that different.
tasting myself through the different still waters right now because Fiji didn't made it for me right now.
Yeah, the sparkling just kind of kills it a bit.
Yeah.
You want another piece? I got more.
No, it's good.
Okay.
Let's see. Salvati. I had the Starkey. Starkey's way better again. Now to Fiji. Very interesting.
I think I know who we're going to lose to the restroom next.
Starkey.
Oh, really? Huh.
The Svalbardi is too low. It doesn't hold up to the profile of the chocolate, so it's just disappearing. Fiji had a weird mouthfeel to the chocolate. Starkey is very good. Oh, that's yummy. Here we go.
That's so cool. Thank you. All right.
Because we need, let's say again, let's face it, it's all about mineral compositions and the interaction of minerals with the minerals of the chocolate. It's kind of like chemical play game. The Fiji didn't hold it up. The Svalbardi was way too low. The 300, what was it again? 360, 360 total dissolved solids. They're holding up to the chocolate, doesn't overpowering it, like Hilden, Vichy, and or even a Roy would do, or Gerolsteiner. This is way too strong, and we would kill all the flavors of the chocolate. But I think the Starkey really brings it up. I love this.
Yeah, it's great. No, good call.
From Idaho Mountains.
Who would think?
So cool. Idaho and Ecuador, huh?
Yeah.
You're both. One is.
So for temperature, these are all room temperature, the waters, right? Is that what you recommend generally for? Yeah.
We're always tasting everything, and a lot of people ask me already about the temperature of water. I think in the restaurant, I understand that people saying like, what, you have room temperature water? I want to drink my water cold because they want to refresh themselves. So what we think the best temperature for like refreshing yourself and hydrate yourself in water would be around 59 degrees Fahrenheit. That means around 16, 17 degrees Celsius. So it's kind of like what you would do with a red wine.
Yep,
you're slightly chilling it down. Because when you're drinking this slightly chilled, the temperature goes right away in your mouth. First, you have this refreshing impact of this slightly chilled beverage. And then the temperature goes right away into your body temperature, and you can actually taste all the flavors out. When you would chill down all these waters, like extremely,
you can't taste anything.
You cannot taste anything. And I think the same would be with your chocolate. When you have them in a refrigerator, and you bring them out right away, and then you're eating them, you would say, okay, it tastes kind of like chocolate, but you wouldn't notice the beautiful nuances.
Yeah.
It's the same with our cheese cut at patina. A lot of people are always saying, cheese needs to be refrigerated. Yeah, absolutely. In the night, we are refrigerating our cheeses. But you don't want to eat fresh from the refrigerator a cheese because it's disgusting. In texture, it's very hard. The creamy cheese are super hard suddenly. You think you're tasting butter from the texture, and the taste is completely gone. So, therefore, you want to have them on room temperature, and all these waters, and that's the reason we have this beautiful water closet behind me, and where we're always grabbing the waters from. All these waters are on room temperature because we really want to see exactly everything what the water has to offer. And when you're chilling a water down, it will hide flavors. And we don't want to hide flavors at all. We want to discover the flavors.
It's the same as true. I mean, you mentioned the chocolate in the fridge. And, people always ask me, like, should I put it in the fridge? I'm like, no, don't do that. Because there's two problems. First of all, there's the problem if it's too cold, you can't taste it unless you actually bring it to room temperature and then taste it. And then the second problem is if it's cold and then you take it out, you get condensation depending on the humidity in your environment. And then you get water, and we talked about earlier that water and chocolate, if they taste good together, but you don't want it on the chocolate or in the chocolate. So once you get condensation, it'll actually draw out the sugar crystals out of the sugar. So you get what's called sugar bloom. You've probably seen that too, like these white spots. It's not mold or anything. It's actually just the sugar being drawn out by moisture.
Way.
So you don't want to store chocolate in a really cold environment or in a very moist environment. So, you want to have the the humidity ideally below 50%. So I store my chocolate sort of at home in a wine fridge, has 60 degrees Fahrenheit. It's still a little cold for eating it. It's okay for storing it. Best temperature for storing chocolate is usually like 65 to 68, maybe 70, but that's kind of pushing it. If you take it out, you definitely want it more so like the 68, 70 kind of range to really taste it on your palate.
It's great advice.
Yeah, it's great advice. Thank you so much. That was fun. I have to say, huh?
Wow.
This was really amazing. Thank you so much. We have 1 hour and 20 minutes on our clock right now. This was great, Katja. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me. This was fun.
No,
with the
this
water.
was very interesting. My wife Nancy will be very happy because she's in the background. She didn't want to say hello into the camera today, but she's in the background listening into it and reading a book. And she has to taste now all the waters and all the chocolates. So that's her, because I have to break down the whole studio to get my living room back to a living room and not to Paramount Pictures, what it looks like right now here. So, and in the meantime, my lovely wife will taste all the different chocolates, and maybe she will share her impression next time. Cool.
Awesome.
Again, Katja.
Thanks for having me. This is
MarinMunchies.com. Please check it out. Get yourself some great chocolates. Get yourself some amazing waters in the store. And remember, guys, drink healthy, eat healthy, stay thirsty, be hydrated, and be a better person.
Mm-hmm. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. I wish you all the best. Chance and myself will produce the episode 5 on New Year's Day, we told us, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, my God. Well, you better only have water.
Lots and lots of water.
It will be.
Vichy Catalan,
yes,
right?
It will be the hangover podcast, what we thought, because we will work till at least 3 o'clock, I think, in the night. So this will be interesting to see how long we can make it. Great. Wonderful. Thanks, everybody. I wish you all the best and stay thirsty. And we hear each other on Planet 5.
Have a good one, guys.
See you. Good
Chocolatey
night.
cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.